Welcome everyone to the Tulsa.NET user group tonight. Alyssa Nicoll talking about upgrading your JS app with .NET MAUI. Alyssa, thank you very much for coming out to the user group tonight. It was neat just to find out that you actually live in the area. So this is awesome to have you in person and talking about how to work with JavaScript, although I try to touch that as little as possible. But so anyway, I'll let you take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so my name is Alyssa Nicoll. I am a senior developer advocate at Progress. We make a ton of cool dev tools on both the .NET and the JavaScript side. And I'm excited to talk to you guys about upgrading your JavaScript app with .NET MAUI. If you're just interested in MAUI tonight, we're going to be talking specifically about the MAUI Blazor hybrid application that you can use to ship things cross-platform. So you don't have to use JavaScript, but when I found out that you could actually do this, I could still stay in what I'm most comfortable with, which is Angular, because I'm also an Angular GDE and have been in the JavaScript community for a long time. So when I found out that I could use that to then ship that to the Android Play Store or to the iOS store, I was just like completely amazed and excited. Beyond that, yes, I will love the questions. I want all the questions. One of the most famous questions for this talk is, but why? And because I know there are other things out there that exist that allow you to do this. But I actually today, for the first time ever, I got it working the right way, where there's interop between, and I will show you the demo, between the actual hardware of the device that we're deploying for, that we're using MAUI to deploy for, and the JavaScript app that's pre-built, right? So that gives us access to things that things like Electron wouldn't have access to, right? Like the gyroscope or like the camera, right? So it's really, really cool stuff. I absolutely love it. I'm going to see if I can get chat. I was going to see if I could get chat open while screen sharing.
I've got it too.
You got it too? Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Just shout it out. And I'm going to press play. Okay. So a little bit of the story before we jump into code. I promise there will be lots of code. I did start with, I went to OU, Boomer Sooner. Was anybody at that last game with me? I feel like no, we're all nerds here. Now, I literally had to have the game explained to me as it was happening, but it was still fantastic to be back on campus. And after I finished my psych degree, I was going to continue on, but I honestly lost my passion for it and was really bummed out. And that's when my boyfriend, now husband, showed me the wonderful ways of development, and I fell in love and have never looked back. From there, I became an Angular GDE, and I actually MC ngconf now, and I'm very well known in the JavaScript community. And I became a dev rel at Progress 5 years ago, and before that was just full-time development. And I met a bunch of amazing people on our team because, like I said, we have tools for not only the JavaScript side, but the .NET side. And it was actually, you all might laugh, but it was Win UI that caught my eye. For like, I was like, wait, what is this? How do you use this? And then I started getting into desktop development, and that led, because it was right before MAUI hit officially. And so I've just been amazed playing around with MAUI. Although, you know, and as was mentioned before, I did start a stream called JavaScript Girl in a .NET World, where from obviously a JavaScript perspective, I'm learning .NET, and I have fun people come on and teach me things about the ecosystem that is rather large. I don't know if you all know this, but like, it's intimidating, like what is out there in .NET, not even just what is new, you know, oh, look, there's MAUI or there's Blazor, but just what exists and is still being maintained. Stepping into that can be quite daunting, but honestly, I've been loving every minute of it. So that's my journey on how my friends shared it with me. I have an application called the Tour of Heroes, or the Tour of Ponies. It's very famous. Oh my gosh. I didn't know you guys could see that. I thought it was hiding that. I'm going to hide that so you don't actually have the chat in the middle. Can I hide this even more? Hang on 1 second. 1 second. We're going to make it a little bit hideier. I don't really hide. It's totally a word. Okay. Oh, it's not on the. Oh, right. Okay, cool. I was worried that everyone was seeing the chat, and that would be really annoying. Okay. So yes, there is a very famous application in the Angular world called the Tour of Heroes. Heroes for me, similar to like Marvel characters, I thought was super boring. I love My Little Ponies, so I refleshed it and changed a bunch, but I added Kendo UI components and of course ponies. And whenever I first heard about Maui, I was like, hang on, so I can have ponies on any device, right? So this is the first demo app that I'll be showing today and demonstrating how to do this. But as you'll see, there was a bit of a blocker. The steps as I learned them, this is just my experience from, I did start before it was like when it was in developer preview. And then as it started releasing and things started changing, that was my first growing pains in .NET, where I was like, why does this hurt so much? And everyone was like, welcome, because they did change drastically, especially because I'm doing it in a very, okay, to give an example, one day, new stream, right? Learning C#. Someone was like, why don't you try this out for yourself? And I said, cool. And I opened the CS proj file in Vim, and everyone in chat started booing because they were like, why are you in Vim? And so that was, I was like, let's pause and download Visual Studio, I guess, right? That was me learning. I know. So these steps obviously come from a Mac perspective, and they also come from a JavaScript land perspective. But whenever I wanted to kind of talk about what I was used to before this point, to get a product from development to it is shipped live for customer to use. I would open a provider for my project. I would usually use Netlify. I'm not sponsored, but wouldn't mind, if they're watching. Mm-hmm. And then voila, you can scan the QR code. That is Ponies Live. But literally, it was as easy as opening up the provider, inputting my GitHub URL, my repo, and then it was live, right? It was very basic. And so coming from that world, I was like, so how do we do this? And I put pause for a side note on responsive styles, because I thought, as naive as this web developer was, that when you open Chrome and you go and you do this to your window and it looks fine, that counts as mobile development. Like I have covered all the responsive bases, but actually when I opened up Visual Studio and I started either the simulators or emulators to get onto a mobile device, my eyes were like opened wide. I was like, oh, we are not really at responsive styles. So this is my little screenshot of a couple of things where I was like part 1, 2, and 3, where I was just cleaning it up to get it out because I wanted to get it to the App Store as soon as I could. But yes, this is what I'm talking about when, this is usually how I check for things. And I'm like, do we need a media query? Do we need to, add in some flavor? But once you are actually responsive and actually ready to deploy, there are a few steps to get up and going first. First, installing .NET. Excuse me. The winter air that we're having this fall. It's like, then install workloads. This got me. I was like, my friend was like, all right, you've installed .NET, let's go install the workloads. And I was like, there's more? Like I've installed the thing. So you do need to do both of these steps. And if this is super low level, don't worry, we're gonna ramp it up. If you're all like, I know I have .NET, okay, it's fine. We'll get there. So Microsoft Docs, I did, of course, the Mac OS one, but depending on your device. And then the workloads, I tried to stick as much as possible to the terminal. And there are docs with CLI commands that support that. So if I could download something or spin up a new application or update something, I always like to stay in the terminal. With the latest RC, yes, I did want to warn, because I think whether or not you're using JavaScript, if you are using Maui Blazor hybrid, you're probably going to run into this where I'm very new to the mobile world, but iOS updated, therefore Xcode updated on my machine. But as Reddit told me, Microsoft doesn't update their, I guess it would be their workloads, whatever they need to update in order for your iOS simulator to work, right? In order for you to be able to test truly cross-platform. And it takes them a couple of months, is what the community was saying. So there is a workaround where you can actually trick your machine and say, that's not the latest version of Xcode. The last version of Xcode is. So I wanted to mention this just because if you go at home and play with this and you try an iOS simulator on .NET 7, you're going to be like, she lied to me, right? So I just Just a little heads up on that. There are workarounds though, and they will get on the ball. It will be available. But this is what it looks like for me in my, I don't know, I'm very excited. I just got my M2 chip Mac. So I'm going to download and run Parallels. I'm getting groans. No, this is gonna be exciting. All right, and then I'll be able to see what the, and I quote, the real Visual Studio looks like, because I will run it on Microsoft on my Mac. We'll see. But this is what it looks like for me to select a .NET MAUI Blazor hybrid app. The happy path, of course, PC with Visual Studio. If you're on Mac like myself, you can mostly get away with CLI commands like I mentioned. When you run into issues like this, though, you need to crack open Visual Studio to ensure you truly do have all the updates, because sometimes your terminal lies to you and is like, yes, I generated the app for you. And then you go and you're like, it's not working, what's happening? So always just open Visual Studio, trust the people from the community who tell you to get out of them, right? These are the crux of this talk. This is it. This is the meat and potatoes. If you actually want to deploy a web app with MAUI, yes, there is one company that my company has helped do this recently, because it just shipped out of developer preview, to get an app that's in production to multiple platforms. These are the steps you need to take. You'll have to create a MAUI Blazor hybrid application that's going to be your shell app. Delete the Blazor component bits and insert your built JavaScript app into the root folder. And then we're going to build and run the .NET app, see it on the different platforms. And then of course, I don't know, have any of you ever like deployed to either a desktop app or a mobile app on either Android or iOS? Has anybody here done that? Oh, we've got a couple. Okay, anybody in chat? Because there's some steps. And so this is going to get you up and running these steps, and they're very quick, and we're going to walk through it from scratch tonight, just so I can show you how easy it is. But to actually get onto either store, there are a couple more steps. So we're going to do it live as advised by no one ever. And then we're going to jump into what some of those further deployment steps look like on either store. And then I'll show you the interop that I got working. So we've got a full agenda tonight. Okay, we got this. So I'm going to first show you Tour of Ponies on a local host for web. So if you are just overcome with awe at my terminal theme, I can share it with you. Just in case you're like, I need this in my life, right? I can share the, nobody, okay, it's fine. So yes, I call this one Kendo UI Tour of Heroes releases, because every time we have a release, I thought it was a really good idea, because we have over 100 components now, that every time we release, I should add that component to an existing application. She chunky, but it's fine. We're gonna be fine. Because it is an Angular app, I'm using the Angular CLI to serve this. It's very similar to serving any application, really. She's going to take a second. So what I'm going to do is open her up in VS Code. You cannot see her because of the Zoom bar. Why are you in our lives? All right, we'll screen you. There is truly nothing magical about this app. It's very, very basic. Inside your source, you have these, which are, I can actually make them even bigger if we need. That was the wrong direction. So yes, these are components. Let's look at a dashboard component. It has an HTML file, a CSS file, and a TypeScript file. So all very, at least in Alyssa's brain, basic, but I, again, am web dev. Hear me roar. That was weird. Where is our, we're gonna close this, go back here. Oh, I think I'm already serving it, or somebody is serving something. Let's find out. Okay, so yes, somebody is serving something, and we're going to shut it down. That is Visual Studio Code that I use for anything JavaScripty. I'm going to put this in the center and make it tall so that I can see it with the zoom bits. So yes, I use Visual Studio Code. She is so white and alarming on the eyes because I have accessibility preferences for the highest contrast possible. So it blew away my theme and was like, black and white. And I was like, yeah, I'll live like that. So that's how I live now. I don't know. So let's Control C out of this, ng serve again. All right. So we're going to get ponies up. And then what I'm going to do while this is happening, we're actually going to open the Big Mama Visual Studio. Oh, I know. And I'm going to go ahead and close this out because I wanted to show creating a new one. So here we've got NET MAUI Blazor hybrid app. Very important if you want to pull this off, you need the hybrid one. You can't just go with .NET MAUI. 6 because of that iOS simulator issue that's still, and it also was happening on Mac Catalyst. So project name, Ponies for Life. Yes, absolutely. I always put things in development. I don't know if that's a web thing, but it always tries to get me to put it in projects. And I'm like, please, who are you? Okay, it says it's compiled successfully. We are generating this MAUI Blazor hybrid app, and I'm going to run her on Mac Catalyst. So let's go to our local host. Beautiful ponies, as you all expected. Got some built-in cutesy animations. If we go over to the actual Heroes tab, I've got, this is all using a built-in web API that fakes calls so that I can still have the data if I'm offline, since it's a demo. So if you ever see it stuttering, that's because I wanted to show off the loading component. And so yes, it's not TU's fault. So yes, these are just different apps, very basic, but let's see what it looks like on a desktop application, right? So I think she's running, you can see her bouncing down here. She's thinking about it. So we should see what should load, yes, is not ponies yet, because we haven't done the steps needed, but I wanted to show you what the MAUI Blazor hybrid app looks like by default. So this is, have any of you seen this Blazor? I've seen it so many times, so I take it for granted, but have you all seen this one? Where it's got the counter and it's got the home and it's she's basic. She's beautiful. We love her. But let's go ahead and do the magic. So we are going to open up our main page.xaml, and we are going to find all of our Blazor WebView bits and rip that out and say, thank you for your contribution, Blazor. We're just using you for your WebView. Yes, that's what's happening. The host page, we're still going to point to an index.html in the root folder, but as mentioned before, and you are welcome, I have pre-built this JavaScript app, so you don't have to watch me do that. So in Angular applications, the dist folder is where all of your built files will go. And I actually before this, I wasn't accustomed to building, because I'll usually give something like netlify my repo and then the build command, and then it just builds it itself. I was like, how pedestrian right now. It's totally fine. So these are the files that we need for our built pony app. And then over here in this other tab, I have we just said Ponies for Life. We're going to go into the root folder. It has these Blazor bits, but what we're going to do is just drag over it, holding Option, so I can copy it and still have it in both places. And it's asking me, do you want to replace the favicon? And it's also, I'm going to not do, it's going to ask me also index. Do you want to replace the index? So we're replacing those. We're adding in other files. And now we're going to go back over here and press play. She will load. She's faster than my old one. You should have seen that old Mac. Do we have any questions? Nothing in the chat that we need to address? No funny comments? Any kind of parental puns, dad jokes, and or developer jokes are very welcome at any point in our lives. Oh, okay. This happened earlier. I'm trying to remember what I did, but luckily for you, because I had some issues, but we used the right .NET. We drug it into our root folder. We're going to check. Watch Android work. I'm going to test Pixel 5, and if that doesn't work, I already have, because literally 5 minutes before I got in the car, because every time this happens, something happens with my simulators. I will get them solid at some point. I feel like at some point I will know what I'm doing at all times as a developer, right? At some point you'll know what you're doing at all points. Yeah, see? I feel like I'm getting promised by the audience right now that happens. Okay, we are going to
That was like the boy that raised his hand when the auctioneer was, sorry about that.
All right. I don't know what's wrong with her, but we're going to open up one that I know is working. File, open. There's some tiny text for these, for these eyes. I called it Shipping Ponies Everywhere. I just made her. Does it bother anyone that you have to click on the proj or the solution file in order to open up an application in Visual Studio? No?
Because there could be
Been doing it 28 years.
Okay. I just am used to
VS Code folder.
develop. Yeah, just it's a folder. Just open the folder, right? Like, whew, it's fine. I'll get over it. All right, so this one is just, it looks very similar. You can see the pages with like the counter and the index. And then if I open up this guy, you can see that it has the Blazor WebView. And then in here, the same files that I just drug over to the other one. So I actually should delete this, save that. Oh, wait, is it because we should be able to delete that. And I want to do it on Mac Catalyst first. Show the ponies to the world. Watching them load. There's got to be some wood around here, right? Yeah. Did not do my goat sacrifice. So to the demo gods. Yeah. So, and no one has any good jokes because I do collect them for the stage. Hey, yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna later on. I'm gonna be like, oh, it's because I chose the wrong setting or because I deleted one too many lines. I love you all. I don't know why, but you've got ponies. Sorry, I was trying to scroll with. I always get confused because I'm like, do I need to? Whenever you're using the Android simulator, you have to like hard press on your mouse to get it to scroll. But this desktop application works similar to a web application. You just scroll normally. But yes, all the animations, everything that was there with JavaScript and CSS, it just works. It's beautiful. Over to our heroes page. Obviously looks a little smaller, but I can make my desktop app any size that I want. And we have ponies and it's amazing. But at this point, when I would stop here, that's when I would get the but why question, right? So I'm hoping.
So why would I do this?
I know. And then I would be like, if you're going to tell me that Electron is a viable option, those the Electron lovers in the world, I can't handle them. Wait, are you about to vouch for Electron?
No.
Is that why you're pressing it?
Yeah.
CPU and memory. Pixel emulator are you using?
So this one is, if I, are you gonna stop? Are you gonna stop at some point in your life? Okay, so I just was doing this on my Mac Catalyst one, but when you say Pixel, are you talking about this one that I'm about to do? Pixel 5, is that what you mean? Or by Pixel, did you mean the Mac desktop Catalyst
I'm reading
thingy?
a question off the chat.
Right.
I'll assume that Pixel emulator right there. Android.
You can do it, Android. I believe in you. See the little, this is the part that you have to pay attention to in the bottom left. And it's like the smallest text in the world because you think to yourself, well, I've broken it again. Nothing's happening. But you have, it says building down there. So that's, I know you all seem like you know. I did not know. I'm like, this is about the time it usually takes to load something on the web. So I'm like, well, I've broken it. It just, sometimes the emulators need a hot minute, but yes, she's gonna load. I'm going.
Kids your age, you're just impatient.
Is it that, or is it because I'm from the web?
We're used to going off and getting.
Okay, you all joke. I really do. I like get up and get coffee, or I get up and like I will get my new because they take time to dry the nail polish. So I'll do a coat, I'll test some code, build, and then I'll do another coat because by the time it's done building, the nail polish is dry. Like I can't even make these things up. Okay, so our Android simulator emulator, I think that one's an emulator, will interrupt us in a moment, but I want to move on. So 4 other further steps of deployment, just to give you a little taste. On the App Store, yes, I did go all the way. I bought the Apple developer license. One could say I'm legit, but I don't know if one would. King Gerald, has anyone heard of this guy? absolutely phenomenal. I have no idea how to say that. Versluis. Someone help. I told you she. Versluis. Did you say?
Versluis.
Versluis. Am I saying that? I told you she would interrupt us. Thank you. Now we are witnessing an Angular JavaScript app being deployed with a .NET framework to an Android device on a Mac. That's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. I think people at this point are like, why are you breaking the world? But yes, tell me things.
Isn't it just a WebView? Or how are you using
The Blazor WebView is the reason that we're getting away with this, because it's a Maui Blazor hybrid app and the only part of Blazor. And when I saw, sorry, tangent, ADHD. What were we talking about? Oh, I'm going to go on my tangent. When I saw in .NET 7 that there's a WebView without Blazor, I got so excited. But then I saw in the notes on the documentation that they were like, but like not for Maui. And I was like, what? Because I was essentially going to stop using the Maui Blazor hybrid app because I'm just using it for the WebView. Just use Maui, stick in that new WebView. I'm going to find out. I'm going to talk to somebody on the team. I'll be like, why not Maui? You just crushed my dreams. But I don't know. Have you guys seen that? The new WebView that's, you know, no. But it's, that's not, but it's, but it's your,
I'm in the cloud.
but it's
not mobile.
You've got Sean in the audience saying I'm in the cloud. Yeah.
So my question is, what if you want to use a native API, like when your camera or like audio recording? Can you do that?
Yes, you can do that. So the question in the audience, for those of you who cannot hear online, was what about a native API? And that is my answer to when people ask me, why would you do this over something like Electron or Universal or blah, blah, blah. And for me, other than the gross factor for Electron, the ability to access hardware, right, API, is amazing and it's phenomenal. So yes, I do have a demo where I got that working. And I'm going to show you real quick. Ponies, please go away. She's thinking about it. I don't know what state we need to save, but Android's like, we're saving the state. Okay, you do it. You do it. All right. So King Gerald, we'll keep calling him that because that last name is, whew. He has incredible guides on the tubes. If you're interested, snap the QR code. But essentially what I'm going to show you about deployments, and I will get to the hybrid in 1 second, sorry, love, is everything here that I'm talking about. He goes into way more detail and shows you exactly where to find things. But in order to deploy to the App Store, you have to go to developer.apple.com after you have paid for a developer license. I think is it $100 a year? Does anybody know? Nobody?
Yeah,
Is it?
I do have a camera.
Is it? I didn't know if it was yearly. It's not forever. I think you have to yearly. Okay.
Your tax, I think, 107.
107 with tax. Okay. Okay. This makes sense. So then once you have that license, you go to developer.apple.com. You're going to input certificates, identifiers, profiles, and more. But you also need an application for Transporter. She is not needed for Android devices, just for to get essentially an IPA whenever you build with .NET and you say, I'm actually like building my production application. For iOS devices, that will give you an IPA file. That's what you put into Transporter. That application connects that file to your account where you have all of your certificates and other things. Why you can't just upload to the website where you put the certificate, I have no idea. I don't security. I'm not sure, because again, the Android flow is a little bit different. Then you need yet a third place to put more information, appstoreconnect.apple.com. These were some hiccups that I ran into. Privacy policy, both mobile stores want a privacy policy. And I was like, Ponies is gathering no data. She has no users. She doesn't care about you. She doesn't want to know about you. Why would I need a privacy policy? But even so, even if you're gathering absolutely no data and storing no information about your users, you still need one on both stores. There are generators out there, and depending on what you're doing with your data, they're either free or they cost a little bit of money. And so they not only generate the privacy policy, but they host it at a URL, which I thought was weird, because both stores don't want you to like attach the privacy policy. They want you to give a link to it. So I guess you could also put it like maybe in your code repo and link to it that way. But a lot of the generators will just give you a link to that privacy policy that you generate. Screenshots, which are amazing and incredible because I don't own an Android device. But because of that emulator that I'm running on my Mac, I took screenshots, right, of the different, because it will ask you for different pages to have different screenshots in different orientations. And with those emulators and simulators for all of the devices, you can get those and the screenshots are accepted. Rights to your firstborn, obviously, right? And my first rejection, so the App Store, Apple came back to me. I had one bug, fixed the bug, got all the way through, and at the end, the legal team said, "You don't have rights to My Little Pony. You're not Hasbro." And I was like, that's so rude. Like, that's so rude. But they were right. So I did request temporary rights to use it from Hasbro, still waiting on the lawyer. But that is the holdup. That's why she's not in there. But I was like, I finally just decided, I was like, all right, we're going to move on with something that doesn't have copyright material. But that is, you know, an important thing to, if you're attempting this, to note. Android deployments, a small bit easier, but not by much. Again, if you're like, I love Android, I do nothing but Android, why are you saying it's difficult? That's because I literally have like 3 inputs on Netlify to get my website live, right? It's coming from that mindset, not to diss on anything from what you're working with. But you go to developer.android.com/studio/publish. And this was me as I was working through the steps. I loved this little UI, checked off like, yep, here's your the ads that you've like listed out or opted out of, target audience, etc., etc. It was really fun. I loved it. Other options, yes, like Electron, Universal, or PWAs. I will export these slides and give them to you because I'm just going to jump straight to hybrid. But there are reasons one, access to hardware, 2, how an app feels. PWAs don't really feel like they belong, right? And yes, are you about to protest?
I look like I've been doing this my whole life. The fact is, I don't know that acronym.
Oh, progressive web app. I'm so glad you said that. And I'm actually going to make a note. Remind me in 1 hour to fix the PWA in my program.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to spell that out because I do this not only for like devs locally, but for people who aren't first English speakers. And so like, obviously I should spell out acronyms. That's so silly of me. So yes, progressive web apps are when web developers take their application and like, if you're from the Google side of life, you'll run it through something called Lighthouse and it'll tell you your score and it'll say, yes, you're hitting all of these marks. You can bundle up your application and ship it as a progressive web app. But for me, like they're amazing and they can be faster than web apps because of the performance tools that they employ, but they are not a full replacement, especially for like heavier applications that have special needs, right? But a lot of people will argue that a progressive web app is a replacement for a mobile application or a desktop application. These are important bits. Again, they'll be in the slides. And that if you wanted to go the CLI route, these were the different commands I used for building and such. But I'm actually going to bump out to our hybrid application now. What time is it? 12 o'clock? Yes, question.
You got plenty of time.
Okay.
So there's a question on the chat.
Yeah.
Does the Blazor WebView use JavaScript runtime engine like V8?
Ooh, I don't know. Can we Google it? Does the Blazor WebView use the JavaScript engine? Blazor WebView. From my understanding, it was its own little WebView. It wasn't using full set of Blazor components. Use JavaScript engine.
Yeah.
Use selling point.
Where's your progress?
I should. What? Oh, are you saying? You're saying it's weird that the ad? Yes, yes. There she is. Our blogs are phenomenal. I don't know. That's a really good question. But you know who will know? My good friend, who we're going to harass right now. I cannot see anything with this bar up here. I don't know how to. All right, we're just gonna put you in the middle of the screen because that's where you belong. All right, we're gonna go to the Twitters. And we're going to go to the amazing, I have 2 teammates that do .NET. Ed Charbonneau is incredible, and we can bother him. Well, that's perfect. Okay, can you say the question again? Does the Blazor WebView
use a JavaScript runtime engine?
Use a JavaScript runtime like V8. Okay, perfect. I don't know if I spelled that right. Runtime? Does runtime have 2 T's?
No, that's good.
Asking for a friend. Winky face.
User group.
Sweet. Perfect. Don't worry. The man lives on devices. He will see it. Me personally, unless you see me in person, I'm like, my friends they always get on to me. They're like, where were you? I was like, I don't know. My phone was just gone. Other person you should know about, Sam Basu. He is I'm going to spell it right. He is the Maui guy. So he's done a lot of forefront stuff with Maui and actually was really integral in helping that large company that I was talking about get their stuff up and running like the day that Maui was released. And I was like, that's scary. And he was like, yes, it was, but we did it. So, and then Ed is the Blazor guy, and he will know all about not only the Blazor WebView, but everything Blazor.
I know him.
Yeah, you know him?
Yeah, I met him in Kansas City.
You met him in Kansas City? Wait, what was the one in KCDC? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I love KCDC. And actually the Jeff Strauss, isn't he the organizer?
One of.
He now works at Progress.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go and check out hybrid stuff before we run out of time and close Outlook. Whew. Anything that could be taking away processing power from my simulators, we want to get that back. So I have a to-do application. She's so sexy. You might have snuck a peek at her earlier. This bar, we will murder her. Okay. It is called Oh, that's weird. I've never seen that before.
Was it you that Lisa trying to sneak at?
She wins sometimes, unfortunately. So this is my to-do application. But I'm actually just going to serve it up first and then show you. And then we're going to, the command is not available. Haha. Okay, so here's what I've been doing. I don't know if I would recommend it, but when I do this, I put my JavaScript application and the Maui Blazor app application that I'm going to be wrapping it with in the same repo. And that way, when I need to work on one or the other, they're both there. But to do, if you're looking on this on GitHub, because it is there and it is pinned, Alyssa Michelle, I'll show you the link later. To do is the JavaScript one. So that's why, because I was not all the way into my to do application. That's the Angular application. Serve. And we are going to go and open up another terminal. I'm not going to open up terminal. I'm trying to do it with Visual Studio. Anytime I do something C# in terminal, you all should, throw something. We're going to figure out how to open up a new thing in Visual Studio. Open. And, oh, this one also has it. One of my gripes, VS Code will listen to essentially it saves your state, and I'm really, really blind. Truly, if I lose my contacts, I'm not allowed to drive. So I usually zoom everything in, and then I'm allowed to I can literally start streaming most of the time based on my base font size because it's big enough, right, for the stream. But this, I have yet to find a way to override that. So if you're watching and you know how to get chunkier font, there are parts that you can control, because you'll go into settings in Visual Studio and you'll be like, Alyssa, it's right here. It doesn't control the interfaces like this. It just controls your actual code. So I'll just get up here and then we'll find the application. To do wrapper 6.
By the way, I can relate.
Can you? It is
You've
so.
got special glasses for
You want to know? I was told by my doctor that I was the youngest person, and this was 8 years ago, that has ever needed bifocals. Because my vision is so extreme. But I honestly, they gave me the contacts that have part bifocal on the outer rim, and I could not get used to that. Oh my, because you're supposed to look on the outer periphs, and that's your close-up vision. Who's reading documents like this?
I've done that.
Have you?
And monovision, where one lens is for reading, one's for this.
Did you get used to that?
It
Yeah.
worked for about 3 years for me.
Okay.
I started having trouble with dry eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to glasses.
So this is our to-do application. She's very beautiful. New to-do, yes. I have not finished all of her CRUD, which stands for create, read, update, and delete. but she has adding, these are all the to-dos that you can see. And then at the very bottom, I have this beautiful button called Grab Device Info. I'm going to show you as much of this as I can. When I click on this, nothing happens. If we open up the inspector, you'll see why it says .NET is not defined. And you could not believe the moment that I got my JavaScript application to tell me that .NET was not defined. Like, it was like the heavens parted, because just fighting to get to that point, because with Angular, I wanted to use dependency injection. I didn't want to just have some random JavaScript app, or excuse me, JavaScript file that was sitting off to the side that wasn't natively a part of my app. And so with injection tokens, I finally figured out how to basically give access to .NET, but during running in our browser, we should not be able to do it because it's not wrapped in the thing that will give us access to these async .NET methods, right? So let me show you some code to back up what I'm blabbing about. And yes, do let me know if anyone's questioning. All right, full screen. And we're gonna make you a little bit smaller. Okay, so at the very bottom of that HTML document, I have a section with a Kendo card, and that's wrapping the inner OPI bits, which has the button, and you'll see that the button calls something called Get Device Info. That's my CSS. So you all probably don't want to look at that, but feel free. She's beautiful. Get Device Info. Then in the components TypeScript file. So for those of you who are very unfamiliar with Angular, I'm just going to give you like the briefest of run-throughs. Here we have a component. She's a class, very basic. The selector is going to point to the JavaScript of shove this logic, shove this templating, shove this styling here. So that's the selector. The template URL and the styles URL. Some people prefer to do those in line, like React people, but I'm not insane. No, sir. So I put them in their own files, and that's where you can find them. And then in this file itself, for our app component, the TypeScript file is going to be where the logic is. So our get device info is calling this .maui interop .grab device info, and then I'm doing something with it, right? Which we will see. We'll see that device info get printed to the screen in a moment. But I want to show you, I have a file called mauiinterop.javascript, and this is one half of the equation. Both halves, our JavaScript half and our .NET half, in order to have interop between them, have to have pieces that are looking for each other. So on this side here, I'm attaching just to our JavaScript window. Don't cringe, please don't cringe if you're a JavaScripter in the room. My Maui interop, which I named that Maui interop, you can name it whatever you want. And then I created the check number function and the grab device info function, which is the one that we're actually calling. He calls something called return.net, and you can see in the .NET docs, this .NET.invoke method async. And that's going to give us access to certain things. They are still building out what you can access. I think there was a couple. It was like I think 7 different things that you can access, but you can't access everything natively yet. They're still building it out, the API. But let's go and look at our wrapper application here in my, I'm going to show you my app XAML. You can see this namespace here, very important bit that for some reason eluded me for quite a hot minute. To do wrapper 6 new, right? It's just the name that I generated for this application, for this wrapper app. It does need to match here for what the invoke method async first parameter has to match. Make sure it matches. It's not going to work if you don't. And then literally, if we scroll down to our get device info, it just has this string, which is listing out the device name, device info.name, the orientation, right? Device details. And you'll see this printed out, and that's going to be passed into our Angular application. Yes.
So I take it the JS invocable annotation.
Yes.
Makes it accessible.
Yes.
Okay.
Is she an attribute? I think somebody told me they're attributes. The JavaScript invocable is it? I like that one better because it makes more sense. Because when people were like attributes, I was like back into the HTML. I'm like, what are you talking about? So, but no, this is the other side of it. I want to show that running. So let's go ahead and serve it up. Whee! And it should look the same as it looked in the web view, but now when we press the button, we have access to .NET, right? So these two sides can talk to each other. So we're going to scroll down, grab device info. That's an alert that I built in because I want to show you, notice it is taking the native JavaScript alert and it's a desktop alert now. And we're going to see it in a minute as an Android alert, right?
Daddy, I don't know how many times I wish that was just out of the box, you know?
And I had to animate it for all of you beautiful people. So apologies if you're struggling to read it. It's just my Mac's address, my Mac VIN number, and then the orientation. But we're going to stop this real quick. It's absolutely. Yes, tell me. Yes.
Last page you were showing.
Last page. This one.
Before I started programming 25 years ago, I owned a sign company and I did graphic art. Can I recommend you know, you had your fonts had a shade there?
Yes. Sorry, that page. I thought you were talking about this page.
No.
I'm with you now. You're talking about the generated. Yes.
And if I can make a recommendation.
Yeah.
If you want that to really pop.
I do want it to really pop.
Okay. Is it coming back up now?
It is coming back. It'll be on Android, but
Okay.
yes.
So what you want to do is have your lighter color in the front.
And my darker color in the back.
Just switch them.
I love that. So
And the difference, it'll take you like a few seconds.
oh, I'm so
and you'll go,
excited.
oh my gosh,
I'm absolutely going to do that. I'm
it'll be so much more readable.
getting contrast / design advice from someone who used to work at a sign company, but they're saying to rotate the colors so that my lighter ones are in front.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
You see some of my work on BeHolman.com.
B. Holman, we'll pull you up, man.
I'll give you my card.
Do it. Okay.
I don't really have much graphics, but
I
design my own site.
I love it.
Script and HTML.
I was like, let's get really cheesy and throw in some CSS animations and make it impossible to read. Yeah, that was not the goal, but I just got so excited because today I've gotten interop working before, but not with, and I didn't show you the side where I was using the dependency injection on Angular, and I can, but this is more of a .NET meetup. But I just geeked out because I was so happy to finally have it working in what I consider to be the right way. So I was super pumped. She's still building, she's coming, she's chugging, but I love her anyways. But yes, we should be able to now see different device info because we're on a different device, right? So you shouldn't see my Mac then. So, but no, it's very cool.
While this is chugging along.
Yes, tell me.
Visual Studio, go to where you can edit your fonts and colors.
Oh yeah, you want to flip flop it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So this is VS Code, right?
Oh,
Go to
you
Visual Studio.
want Visual Studio?
You said the start screen?
So this, it's built in CSS, and can you open web apps in Visual Studio? Question mark?
No, that's not what I was changing.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
But now this came up, so we'll work this.
I'm gonna scroll. Ugh, I'm really bad at scrolling on this device. Hang on. We're gonna get there. Oh my God, we can make I don't know. Oh, you gotta click. I forgot the click and hold. Okay. So you click grab it. That is the other alert that you see, but it's just from, it in the browser, it looks like a JavaScript alert. And then it says SDK, G-Phone, 64, ARM64, orientation portrait. But I was just so excited to be able to get this interop working. Tell me what you were saying. We had. No, I want to see. You show me. I think we're done though. I think I've shown all the things. This is also where you I want to show you with the camera here. You can grab screenshots and it just goes onto your desktop and it's perfectly valid for that device. And so it'll ask for in both stores different situations. But yeah, that is all I have. I'm so grateful to have gotten to talk to you all and share with you and bore you with Angular, but thank you.
Anybody online got any questions?
Yes, I can turn up the volume for online because I didn't want an echo.
Can we use React?
Yes. Oh, that's a great question. Can you use React? You can use anything at all. You can use vanilla, you can use jQuery, you can use React or Ember, anything. It's just you need the built application in that root folder, and then it will just use the Blazor WebView to ship it. So really anything that runs on the web, yes. So questions?
Assembly code in line?
Assembly code line? I think yes. I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
Yeah, those-
Did Ed ever reply?
Well, actually, the first process you coded on.
If anyone wants to unmute and ask a question verbally, I'm now looking at chat. And I will mute myself so there's not echo. I see Scott is unmuted.
Yeah, did Ed ever reply to your question?
Did Ed ever reply? Let me find out. Let me find out. I didn't want the echo to come through. Let's see. Did he reply? I'm on Twitter.
I don't see any notifications.
I don't see any notifications.
There's something else.
I will. Scott, can you give me either a handle or an email and I'll get you a response tomorrow? Because
I was just reminding you to check again.
okay. Well,
I don't really have a dog in this fight.
I love it. I don't see one yet. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments, concerns about my sanity? Yes, no, awesome. Thank you all. This was amazing.